have done in the past. So if you do not want to be on that, please keep your video off and your microphone off. If for any reason anyone is showing any inappropriate behaviour, we will ask you to leave. This is a very nice and safe space. So today, we are welcoming the amazing Anna Turner from Ahead Partnership, and she's going to talk to us about what they're doing for young people. And we also have the lovely Chloe Derrick, and she works in Studio 12 in Leeds Libraries. So we're going to start off with Chloe. If at any time you want to tell people that you're on this chat or afterwards, please tag the handle at Leeds Libraries and at Studio 12 in and at ahead _ ooh, maybe I'll wait for Anna to tell you that one for Ahead Partnership. Can't quite remember it. So I think I've me done all my talking. So I'm now going to hand over to Chloe. Take it away, Chloe. Thank you.
Oh, thanks, Claire. Thanks, everyone, for joining us. Nice to see some familiar faces. So as Claire said, my name's Chloe Derrick and I work for Studio 12 at Leeds Libraries, very much part of the Leeds Library service. So first of all, who are we? So Studio 12, we're a free production studio for 16 to 30-year-old members. The space is absolutely amazing. It's fully equipped with industry standard equipment. So we've got anything from Apple Macs to the Adobe software, to a sound booth, to film and photography backdrops, anything you could need at all. The studio is really popular for film and music, but as I say, it's anything digital media related can be done in there. We do also provide access to the other library services, such as the BIPC Centre. So many of our members have gone on to get free support and advice on starting their own creative businesses. So if anyone out there is age 16 to 30 and interested in becoming a member, keep your eyes peeled on social media because we'll announce when we can reopen due to the coronavirus. And get in touch to make an appointment. So it takes about half an hour. We sit down, find out all about your interests, tell you all about the studio so you can get the most out of it. And then we also set you up with an IT account. So then you can come back as much as you want during our opening times. Just to celebrate some recent achievements, Studio 12 just found out that we've been shortlisted for the Leeds Digital Festival Awards 2020, so really pleased about that. Studio 12 was shortlisted under diversity and inclusion, so this celebrates organisations and initiatives pushing forward the boundaries for diversity and inclusion in the Leeds tech community. Plus, Jamie Hutchison, the manager, has been shortlisted under Tech for Good. This is for a person delivering positive change within communities and making the world a better place. I just want to say this is a really well-deserved and apt award for Jamie because he set the studio up 16 years ago for the Leeds community and he's kept it going free for young people ever since. So aside from providing the access to free equipment, software, industry developments, we also have a really strong 16-year track record in designing and delivering talent development projects. So that's where our members get to work alongside industry professionals and create new work. Last year, we actively worked to reduce the gender gap in the creative industries. And we delivered 5 projects alone to help champion women and address the gender gap. So this was helping them to develop careers in music, TV, film, and creative writing. So without further ado, I'm just going to share my screen now and highlight some of the projects where we've helped women get into tech. So hopefully you can all see them on the Women in Music page of our website at the moment. So if I just scroll down, just want to touch upon our first residency in partnership with Brighter Sound. We worked with one of our members, Bianca Gerald, who's generously given a lot back to the studio. She's a very high profile artist. So over 5 days, 9 emerging female Leeds musicians worked with singer-songwriter Bianca Gerald with support from composer and producer Christella Latras, again, another high-profile composer. The group wrote and produced original music exploring themes of female empowerment, artistic identity, and authenticity, asking, what does it mean to be a female artist in 2019? As I say, this was delivered in partnership with Brighter Sound as part of their Both Sides Now programme. It's a really special initiative developed in response to low levels of female representation across the music industry. So unfortunately, I don't have time to show you some of the work, and I couldn't possibly pick a highlight, but I have got links at the end so you can go back and we've got SoundCloud links so you can have a listen, or you can actually watch the amazing live performance. So moving on to another project we did, this one again in partnership with Brighter Sound, and this one was a film music residency. So again, continuing to work to actively address that gender gap. And this time we worked with 10 young women and non-binary artists, this time working with Laura Rossi, a very famous award-winning composer, and again, the amazing Cristela Latras. The project aimed to give participants insight into what a career in composing music for TV involved, and also created non-traditional pathways into the industry. Over 5 days, we challenged the participants to create, record, and mix their own short film scores for Studio 12's special Writing Britain films. Just a little bit of background about the Writing Britain project. It's a short film initiative produced by Studio 12 that creates a collection of films addressing people's sense of place and tackles issues that they face. So basically our young people get their stories told through film, but also get to work alongside professional film directors. Writing Britain in all has been showcased through the BBC Three, international film festivals, and Channel 4 Random Acts. So I'm just about to, Claire's going to just play a video for you in a second. So this one is Asma El Badawi's story, and it's called The Waiting Room. It explores the issues caused by disorder and the symptoms of anxiety.
I don't know why I feel the way I do, why the future seems so scary, why my heart races the moment I wake up. I can't do this. I really can't do this. I can't face another day, another minute here. Breathe slow. I reassure my racing heart I can do this. I can do this. Sometimes I look for comfort in my bedroom, watch back-to-back episodes on YouTube and Netflix, read a book or two, order in a takeaway. Try to sleep, then try to sleep some more. I stand and watch as the trains rush by, a moment of sanctuary, as I dream of escaping these four walls. Stacks of plates start to pile up beside me, dirty laundry spread on the floor like a carpet. Vivid dreams, palpitations, sweaty palms, short breaths. Doctor says talking about it will help. Until then, try out these pills. The only person I'm speaking to is myself, agitated. Waiting for my name to make it on top of a waiting list. Tried the pills but was sick of the numbness. Night and day merged into one. Have I showered? Maybe yesterday. Maybe not in days. I lost count. I need to escape this. I ride trains to reclaim my freedom. Looking forward to a fresh start. I jot down.
Okay, unfortunately that's all we've got time for the film, but again there's links at the end if you want to go back, find out more about the Writing Britain project and watch the rest of the films. So just moving on now, just going to share my screen again. I'm just going to talk about Manifesto and Verse. This is a really tricky one to sum up because basically it's our umbrella term for all of our creative writing projects. So all involving poetry, spoken word, but also we've taken the writers and developed them so they've got to utilise their performance skills, being mentored often through Khadija Ibrahim. She's a really high profile activist, poet and playwright. And it's just such an amazing project. To date, our poets have performed in the House of Lords, at Leeds Literature Festival, had their films work streamed internationally, and their spoken word broadcasts live to international audiences via radio. So it's just a fantastic project. I'm really excited to work with this cohort, about 30 poets again this year, and this time we're going to be working in partnership with the British Library for an online exhibition called Unfinished Business, The Fight for Women's Rights. Okay, and I'm just about to wrap up now. So just want to touch upon, unfortunately, Studio 12 was still temporarily closed due to the coronavirus situation. But what we've done since we've been closed is massively overhaul our online provision and support. So this is our website here, which I hope you come back and have a good explore around. But I wanted to draw your attention to, it's not password protected, so anyone can get in. Under members, we've got our opportunities page. So this is jam-packed full if you're looking for creative jobs, funding, commissions, anything you want, whether it's music, film, business, and we've got a section for other to creative writing, anything inside there. So I hope everyone makes use of those opportunities, come back and have a look. And also we've got industry guides. So we've got one for film and one for music. And basically I want to say about this website, in my opinion, it's a career on a plate. It's a one-stop resource for all the creatives in Leeds and beyond. Okay, and then just to finish up now, I'm just going to load up this PDF. So if anyone's got a phone to hand, you could take a quick picture. But that's all the links to the projects I've discussed today and useful website links. And, you know, if you've got any questions, shout them out at the end, or if you think of anything afterwards, just get in touch by email and keep in touch with us on social media. We're at Studio 12 Leeds. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you so much, Chloe. I'm always so in awe of what you and Jamie do. It's just absolutely fantastic work, all for free for young people. And it's just, yeah, the standard of quality of your films and everything you do is really fantastic. So thank you so much for sharing that today. And do get in touch with Chloe and Jamie if you're interested, people. I will share the links that you've just seen in an email after the talk. So thank you again, Chloe. So I'm going to move on to Anna, who is from Ahead Partnership. I'm not going to say too much because I'm sure she's going to tell you everything about them. So please enjoy this and do ask any questions in the chat as we go along. Thank you, Anna.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, thank you for inviting us and inviting me to come on and talk about Ahead Partnership, what we've been up to, what we do. It's really awesome to be part of a conversation about support for young people in our city, and how we kind of connect young people to the opportunities that are waiting for them on their doorsteps. Stuff like Studio 12 is just such an incredible resource and community. And yeah, it's exciting to be able to talk to you all about kind of, yeah, the bigger community and conversation about support for young people in our city. I'm going to do a GU screen share as well, and show you a little slide deck just to kind of structure some of my thoughts on this conversation. So hopefully that's appearing for you all now. Oh, while I've got my head in these slides, if by chance a dog or a cat does pop up, someone give me a shout because I want to see that as well. But yeah, so I work for an organisation called Ahead Partnership. Our work is all about connecting young people with employers in their cities, so that in their communities, so they can understand a little bit more about the opportunities that are out there for them, and what the world of work looks like. Today's sort of spotlight on that, I wanted to talk a little bit about how we and how all of us can connect young people to the new world of work. We've always been kind of working on building bridges between young people in schools studying and the world of work that's waiting for them on the other side of their studies. But that world of work now, just literally in the last few months, is looking completely different. It's completely transformed, and we needed to think about what that bridge looks like as well. It kind of needs a different bridge to get there. And I think tech and digital is a huge part of that conversation and part of that journey for us. In terms of tech and digital, kind of, I guess, in terms of what we've been doing before, how we've been working with communities, this is all sort of pre-pandemic, I guess, kind of all part of the old world. But it's a little bit about how we found a lot of support for young people from the tech and digital sector in Leeds, and some of the work that we've been doing in that area. So NHS Digital, really fantastic local employer, as you can guess from the name. They provide digital support for our National Health Service. They employ a lot of data scientists to do that. And we had a great opportunity to work with them to go out to schools in Leeds and kind of promote those opportunities in data science, in using your kind of numeracy skills that you're developing in your maths lessons, in your IT lessons, your physics lessons, and how those apply to jobs out in the world. We wanted to frame it in a way that also allows students to kind of stretch and challenge those skills that they don't always get to use in the classroom. So we created a creative, collaborative challenge where students had to take a public health data set and design an app that would bring that data to the public in a way that was really usable and really accessible and really useful for them. And they did like paper prototypes of the apps and all sorts. And it was a chance for them to kind of, there's no right answer, experiment, play, and see how kind of data can be actually a really creative, innovative area. So that was really fun. It was interesting to see what they came up with. Similarly, Farnell have been a really creative partner for us. They're more on the physical computing side. So they're the distributor of the BBC Microbit and the Raspberry Pi. We worked with primaries to get microbits into primary schools locally last year, but as well as just getting that kit into the hands of kids to kind of play with and experiment with, we also put together some resources that would give them kind of activities and challenges. We themed it all around guiding and scouting because we wanted to kind of show how physical computing allows you to take tech and digital away from just necessarily sat down at a desk at a screen and kind of into the wider world. So we got them programming their own compasses and running around their playgrounds to kind of navigate with them and stuff. And yeah, that created a really good buzz. And then at the secondary level, we were using the Raspberry Pi, slightly more advanced kit, advanced techniques with older students to get creative and take part in a challenge that was all about assistive tech. So how tech kind of this tech for good idea, how tech has the potential to kind of help and assist our daily lives. Each group was given a character to look at that had some form of disability. They were given not just the medical information about that disability, but also that person's life, their interests, their passions, their hobbies. And the kids had a kind of open-ended challenge to produce anything that they thought would improve that person's life. So there were things like automated pet feeders for people that loved animals, but maybe it wasn't practical for them to have a pet at the moment, and it opened up that opportunity for them. There were kids that created things that we didn't even like anticipate were going to be possible with the kind of tech and guidance they were given. They just really went out of the box and challenged us in terms of what was possible. One kid programmed a facial recognition device for someone with dementia to be able to monitor who was at their door and recognize people who are ringing their doorbell, that honestly could have competed with the likes of what like Google are doing in that area. It was just really inspiring. Girl Tech is a big event, which I think so the library folk on this call have been involved with before. Some of you might have heard a little bit about, but that's about bringing specifically young women from schools around the city into the centre to meet like a range of role models to kind of encourage us to address that kind of gender gap in tech and digital. They get to hear keynote speeches, they get to hear a panel answer their questions live with panellists from a range of different kind of employers, roles, specialisms, and also they get to take part in hands-on workshops and actually kind of have a go at some of these different kind of options and opportunities that are out there for them. And similarly, Tech Tricks are all about kind of getting out and having a go. They're sort of almost like a walking tour that we organise around the cities, where students go in groups and they get to visit different employers around the city and actually see firsthand what those workplaces look like. I think there's a lot of value and a lot of power in getting young people in workplaces firsthand to experience what they're like and find out what's going on at those different offices. So, like I say, all of this is kind of pre the situation that we're in now. I want to highlight some of the conversations that we've been having since then, since things have been disrupted. So this whole time, while schools were shut, while we were doing less face-to-face activity, and we were still like every day as much as possible talking to the schools that have supported what we do with their young people, talking to local employers and businesses, about kind of how they wanted to go forward. And it was great that they kind of, they were all still really supportive and open to kind of a conversation about what we do next. Normally that time of year, we'd be having planning calls to talk about dates and kind of what we're doing and when, and kind of planning the logistics of coming into schools or bringing kids out on minibuses. But this time we were more openly listening to what their challenges were, their priorities, their concerns. Schools, we found, obviously really concerned about young people missing out, whether that's missing out academically on lost lessons, or whether that's missing out more broadly on opportunities. They might have been supposed to be going on work experience this summer, and there's all sorts of things that would be a part of their normal experience as they develop and become kind of more rounded people that they're missing out on. There's also obviously a lot of like practical concerns about those, getting kids on those minibuses, about bringing external visitors in. Not only is that obviously difficult for health and safety reasons, but teachers are more time poor now than they ever have been, with concerns about how they get their students caught up, how they support their students with anything like kind of that emotional support that some students also need at a difficult time like this. But the good news for us is that they've been embracing tech and digital more than they ever have been. So using things like Microsoft Teams, Google Classrooms to really experiment with how you keep learning going, how you keep skills development going, regardless of kind of where everyone is and what the situation is. So that kind of openness and confidence is really exciting to us, and I think opens up a lot of new possibilities. Equally with the employers, they're all embracing those new ways of working as well. But they still have, the same concerns, the same reasons why they're really passionate about getting involved in what they do, whether that's, we talk to employers that have skills gaps where, they just don't have enough people that have the skills that they need, and they want to get out there and talk to young people, particularly in digital. Young people are far and away, have a standing start with that in terms of their skills in that area, and employers want to reach them and speak to them and highlight that there's a real opportunity for them there. And that's still the same, regardless of whether they go to schools or not. And whether you're working for a school or you're working for an employer, at the end of the day, both of them are concerned about what all this means for young people, whether it's the young people that they teach or the young people that are going to be coming into their businesses very soon. They've been hugely impacted by everything that's going on. We see that played out in news statistics, but none of us really need those statistics because we're talking to, the young people in our own lives, and, for us, the kind of schools and things that we work with, and hearing those stories firsthand as well about how tricky this is. We know that people are missing out on learning. We know that young people often fare worse in recessions. They take the longest to find jobs, and sometimes first to miss out on them, and first to lose them. And we know that that inequality gets compacted by other inequalities that young people can be facing. We know that the most privileged and kind of, most privileged young people in our society, there is an attainment gap from what they're attaining to what everyone else is. And we were doing great work as a kind of country, as a nation, in closing that gap recently, in recent years, and there was progress towards it. But now that gap is widening again, and that's something that obviously concerns everyone. So the thought was that young people really do need support. I know the phrase "now more than ever" is something we hear every day, whether it's someone trying to sell us toilet roll or whatever, but I think it's really true that now more than ever, young people do need support, and the idea of waiting for things to go back to normal so that we can do things as we normally would just like isn't conscionable right now. So these are some of the things that tech and digital is allowing us to do at the moment. These are just a couple of ideas. There's other things that we're kind of working on in the background and are excited to hopefully announce soon. But these are the bits and bobs that we've got going on. So careers panels, I mentioned about at Girl Tech, we get people from different roles answering questions live. There's no reason why you can't take that format online, and that's what we've been kind of testing and piloting with schools. We get people from different industries, different walks of life experiences to all answer questions from young people about the world work live, so that those young people get a variety of different perspectives on issues like career path, what goals you might want to set, what you like about your job, what's really tricky about your job. And it's quite a fun one. We've been beaming them into classrooms live, and the only difference is that we have to think about and put things in place in terms of how we facilitate it and how we get the students involved and engaging to make sure that it's just as interactive and just as engaging and just as valuable as what we would be doing face to face. Similarly, interview practice, we've been taking those online and have already, before summer, been able to pilot those and test it out with some schools. So that's, as you can imagine from the name, just students getting a chance to practice their interview skills in kind of a really safe, supportive environment with a volunteer who's going to give them some constructive feedback about kind of how they can smash it out of the park next time before they go on to do interviews for real. I think the great thing about taking those digital has been that as much as we're embracing digital, so is like every other business on the planet at the moment. And we're seeing lots of employers move their recruitment process online. So lots of people are doing video interviews. Chances are, if you're a young person looking to do an apprenticeship or look at a college course or go to uni anytime soon, you might be doing a video interview. And I think that's really its own thing with its own kind of set of challenges and skills. And it's really worthwhile to have a chance to practice that. And the final thing that we're looking at, which we're kind of developing and testing with a few different employers now, is work experience. So how do we simulate the experience of going into a business and doing a role for a week, but online, remotely, flexible, with a mixture of live virtual events where you're collaborating and talking to and meeting professionals, and also self-directed learning in your own time where you're working on tasks to develop your skills and develop your insight into that career and work out whether or not it's for you. So we've been looking at that. We don't just want to create something that's going to be just focused on the day-to-day role and work. We also have been talking about how you capture those other really valuable things that come with work experience, having chats around the kettle, being able to go on lunch breaks with, you know, an adult professional for the first time and be able to talk to someone that's maybe a little bit different from your usual like peers and friends that you're talking to. I think those are all like really important aspects as well, and we don't want to lose that kind of fun, casual social side either. So we've been trying to work out how we incorporate that. And you know, we've all been doing kind of digital and virtual socials with the people that we work with, so it's not a huge stretch to kind of extend that out to young people. So it's very interesting. Hopefully, if any of that interests you and you're interested in getting involved or how you can support, these are 3 ways that we'd love to have you involved. We'd love to talk to you. One is if you want to volunteer to kind of talk to young people about your profession and what you do, we would love to get you involved from that side. So we've actually got an opportunity coming up in October to do some virtual interview practice if anyone is interested in doing that and wants to interview a young person and give them some feedback and kind of boost their skills and their confidence in interviewing. I would love to hear from you. My email's at the bottom there, anna.turner@headpartnership.org.uk. Feel free to get in touch with me about anything really, and if I'm not the person to answer it, I will definitely find you someone who can. Equally, if you work in education and you work with young people, definitely want to hear from you and about how we could support the young people that you work with and what options are there to kind of take some time to focus on them and their employability and their options. And equally, you might be a parent or a carer or someone with a young person in your life who you're concerned about, or who you just want to know kind of what support is out there for them. Absolutely let your local schools and educators know about us and what we're up to and what we're doing. But equally our social media, so we're on Twitter, we're on LinkedIn. Twitter is @headp_ship, and if you search Head Partnership on LinkedIn, you'll find us there as well. And we do from time to time have like these open opportunities, so things like for example, challenges that any young person can enter locally, sometimes even nationally. We'll shout about those and advertise those on there, and you can get any young person in your life involved that way, and we would love you to. And the very last thing I wanted to plug was we're doing another event on October 1st called Tech Innovation for Social Inclusion. That's a bit of an interactive seminar, picking people's brains a bit about how we could use tech and digital generally to kind of open more doors for more people in more walks of life. So yeah, it's going to be an interactive one. It's also going to have a little bit more information about the pilots and testing that we've been doing with schools. So if you want to hear a bit more about that and about what we learned from it, would love you to come along, sign up for that. It's also on the Leeds Digital Festival website. And yeah, love to have you there. So thank you.
Thank you, Anna. That's fantastic. Wonderful work going on there. So if anyone has any questions, please put them in the chat and I can read them out to Anna. But thank you, Emma. Thank you for joining us, and goodbye. Hope you enjoyed it. She said she's off in the chat. My question is, what do you enjoy most about your job, Anna? Is it the interaction with students normally, or I don't know?
I like having a kind of, I like having a 9 to 5 that lets me be creative, which I think is quite rare. I was doing kind of bits and bobs of like freelance creative work before, and that's always kind of, it's nice to be in that kind of structured environment, but also get to do something that feels really creative. But ultimately, it definitely is about going into schools and working with young people and seeing the impact that those volunteers that we work with are having on them, that really like reminds you of like the purpose of what we do and what it's for, and what it has the potential to do. And that's like absolutely what makes me excited to come to work every morning.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think I'm missing it quite a lot of that in lockdown. I miss being in a room of 30 students all asking you coding questions that I probably don't know the answer to, and the panic is setting in, but it's still really rewarding. Watching them come up with creative solutions to everyday problems, or like you were saying about the what were you saying about the assistive technology? That's really interesting as well. Will you be doing things like that again in the future?
I hope so. I think tech for good is generally like such an interesting concept for young people. I think young people are really socially and politically minded and engaged, and want to think about how they can make the world that they live in better, from a variety of different like causes that they might be interested in, from environment to social equality. And I think the idea that actually you can take technical skills that you have, whether that's IT skills or anything else, and use those to solve problems that are related to your real like passions. I think it's brilliant to open people's kind of eyes to that and get them involved. And I think it's a real kind of spark for people. Like it's such a nice thing to be involved in.
Definitely. Before you joined the head partnership, what did you do? Did you have this as your career plan, or?
So I was generally really interested in so what would have sort of in more old-fashioned-y museum-y type jobs be called like outreach, would have been how I first like encountered it. But I think that's a pretty kind of dated idea now, and now it's sort of more about, I guess, sort of inclusion, and making sure that people have equal access and equal opportunities to resources that are going to improve their lives. So doing things like workshops for universities and museums that were about bringing in new audiences and kind of taking new approaches and new perspectives on what they do and what they can offer. That was sort of my main area before this. I worked at Ilkley Literature Festival for a while on their community fringe, so getting more of the community involved in actually taking ownership of events and putting on their own events and putting their stamp on the festival a little bit.
Yeah, that sounds fantastic. I can tell that you're very keen on empowering people and giving them the opportunity to be creative and create their own products, and if that's through digital or anything else. I've got a question from Daniel who would like to know if they can volunteer as an individual or is it a company basis, and what sort of time work commitment does volunteering look like?
Yeah, I think both are options really. We have a lot of people who volunteer with us as freelancers, and I think that's also a really important perspective for young people to get, because that's kind of a more and more popular way of working. And I think I've met so many young people that are interested in the idea of starting their own business, working for themselves. And so if that describes you, then absolutely we want to get you in front of young people and get them to kind of understand a little bit more about what that looks like. Equally, yeah, if you work for a larger business, then you can volunteer with us kind of on behalf of them. And in terms of time commitment, it really kind of varies depending on what sort of event it is. Something like our virtual interview practice, I would say, is a really good way to start by getting involved. It's quite a small commitment in terms of just taking place over maybe a morning or something like that. Some of them might only be a couple of, like an hour or two, and there's not heaps of prep beforehand other than us helping you kind of with the logistics, knowing kind of where to be and when and what to expect and that kind of thing. There's not heaps of prep, but if you're, for example, lucky enough to work for an employer that gives you volunteering days every month, then there are like bigger projects that you can absolutely sink your teeth into. Sometimes we do things like mentoring, which is a bit sort of longer and kind of a bit more in depth, if that's something that you'd be up to get involved in.
Sorry, yeah, my neighbour's washing machine is going in the background, so I do apologise if you can hear that. They've got great timing. Yeah, so if people want to volunteer, do they just get in touch with you on the email that they sent and you'll send it to the right people? Yeah.
Yeah, I think get in touch with me and I'll sort of, there'll be kind of different colleagues who might be like managing the details of different events, and they'll have like the best idea of, like I say, those logistics and things like that. So I'll just introduce you depending on what it is that you want to get involved in, what kind of commitment you can commit to, we'll match you up with the right event and the right person and get you involved.
Fantastic. It's so important to have good role models, I think, when you're growing up, even now, when I'm a bit older, quite a lot older, for young people, so they can see themselves and see the opportunities that are out there, I think. We have some fantastic volunteers for Leeds Libraries. So yeah, Anna, I'm going to put you on the spot. Who's your role model?
Oh, this is such a cheesy one, but probably my mum. Just because I had a really hard-working woman in my life growing up, and I think that phrase, it's so cheesy, but that phrase of like, you can't be what you can't see, I think is always really true. And so I think, yeah, like having role models can come from anywhere, and that's absolutely what we're all about, is kind of making sure that students kind of meet and encounter as many different people as they can. But yeah, just having someone in my life who was, you know, a really hardworking, ambitious kind of woman, like gave me a really good model for what I wanted to be.
Brilliant answer. Okay, if anyone's got any more questions, please do put them in chat. Otherwise, I think that's us for today. So I do hope you enjoyed joining Chloe and Anna and myself for the lunchtime talk today, and seeing what opportunities are out there for young people and how you can be involved as well and how you can access them. So even if you're not a young person, you might work with young people, please do get in touch with Studio 12 and the Head Partnership, because they really are there to support everyone. Our next tech talk is with Alice Chance, and she's going to be talking about inclusion and diversity in tech and digital, and that's next week, same time, if you go to the same event site. And again, this will be on Leeds Libraries YouTube page, hopefully uploaded by next week. So thank you again, everyone. Have a beautiful rest of the day. Thank you, Chloe and Anna. You've been absolutely fantastic, both very inspiring women, and it's been really great to have you.
Thanks,
Okay.
Anna. Bye, everyone.
Bye.